you're never gonna find. Well, the cards are drawn and the die is cast. Stop, drop, turn around, you've already passed. Words that you read can tell you no more. Hungry inside, you got the back of the store. We're just some honest people trying to make a living based on all the lies that we are constantly giving. Always tell yourself, get so far away from here and be somebody else. Worry has a way of always staying with you, and your sadness is part of everything that you do. So you sit and you watch and you listen and learn. You play by the rules and you wait for your turn. Someday all the roads will be paved in gold. At least that's what you've always been told.
One, two, three, four.
One who knows how to say nothing. I just can't find this girl, no will. Do I will stay alone? If we can learn to love each other, then the truth will set you free.
How's everybody tonight?
Not too
hello.
bad. Doing pretty good. How about you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. Now that my basement is drying out.
Greg had to go swimming a little bit.
Yeah. Turning my house into a swimming pool. Live
There
upstairs,
you
swim
go.
downstairs. It'd be fantastic.
That's right.
You know, a little
You
bit of water damage builds character in the house.
Oh,
It
yeah.
also builds mold.
Well, if we can treat people like that, why not houses? You know?
Yeah. I already started remodeling the basement, so it's kind of like,
It's just incentive to finish.
yeah. Fortunately, the one room that I have gotten done was minimal issue. So it wasn't like super, it's not like I had feet of water in my basement. It's just one end of the house is now I know lower than the other end of the house. So
Nice.
yeah, pool party, you bet. Pool party.
That's right. Bring your floaties.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, welcome in. I'm Rob. This is Greg and Matt, my co-hosts, and this is episode 58 of the Update Log,
Madness.
where we bring you
Our old friend.
industry news, whether it be from TTRPGs, video games, sometimes even movie and books. Speaking of books, we are in the process of going through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series.
Yes, we
I'm
are.
sure Greg will talk more on that towards the end of the episode.
I'm just giving you time to read some books, man.
And I appreciate that because those books are fucking long. Okay, because if you've never read a Robert Jordan book, it's long, fucking long.
When I hear the
but
man describes everything in excruciating detail.
he does.
Oh, come on.
You want to
come
know
on.
about that single flower in the field? You're going to know about it for several.
You're gonna know everything. About it. I wouldn't say excruciating details. Matt's over exaggerating, but he does know.
Matt, who has never even opened one of these books, so.
That's true.
I don't have the rose-tinted glasses like you guys do.
Oh, okay.
I see.
You're touting yourself as the objective third party. All right, gotcha.
Yes, the objective third party who has no idea what the source material looks like.
Time to put down Green Eggs and Ham and pick up a real book now.
That's right.
Green Eggs and Ham is a classic, all right.
Although I
Don't you
will-
go talking
I will-
shit about that.
I will agree with
More
that.
people know
Dr.
about
Seuss
Green Eggs and Ham than Wheel of Time. I'll say that.
They do.
Honestly,
They
I think
absolutely
you're actually right.
I mean,
You're right
it's
about
Dr.
that.
Seuss.
Yeah.
Who doesn't know about the guy?
Right, and to think that almost never happened. Did you know
Really?
that? Yeah.
Oh.
I forget Dr. Seuss's history. I
Yeah.
used
Story
to
time
know.
with Greg. What happened?
He wrote the original book, and tried to get it published, and no one would publish it. None of the major publishers, no one would publish it. It just so happened the very last day, the very last time he decided to present it, and was told no. He was literally on his way home to burn the manuscript. Literally on his way home, thinking, "I'm done with this. No one likes it. It's garbage. I just shouldn't even have done this." And he happened to run into a high school friend of his on the street who was part of a partnership who had just started a small publishing company, and they were looking for manuscripts that the big publishers didn't want. And the guy talked him into not burning it and submitting it, and voila, here we are. So many years later with
Imagine. Just imagine that for a moment. The world without Dr. Seuss.
yeah, almost happened.
Damn. We would have been
We almost had to
the
live in
lesser
a world
for it.
with perfectly normal eggs and ham.
Instead of green eggs and ham. Yeah, we would have been the worst for it. Because I'm sorry, Dr. Seuss is that's peak.
Sam, I am.
Peak.
I
That's
like
right.
Green Eggs and Ham.
Man, I actually used to have all of the books. I don't know where
I used
they're
to
at.
have a lot of
I
them.
still have them,
when I was a
but I
kid.
used to have all of them. My mom got me like the whole collection when I was a kid because I used to love those books. I don't know what happened.
But We didn't come here tonight to talk about green eggs and ham, although it is a fantastic
Yeah.
topic. And Dr.
What was the type of
Seuss.
show we were?
I think. Well, I think
We
that
don't
could be.
talk about children's books.
No. I think
Oh,
you're thinking of
man,
another
I've-
podcast.
We could talk about children's books. The unfortunate part is we'd never be able to show it to children. Probably.
Yeah. But yes, as Greg said, we are not here to talk about the infamous and great Dr. Seuss. Although now I'm probably going to look up his history now because I'm curious. Yeah, no, we're here to talk about a couple things actually. Two very, very big things
Yeah,
that just dropped. One just dropped, and one is in the process. Well, information has been dropped for it. The Seussian lore, as we call it.
yes, yes.
That's actually. Do they actually call this Seussian lore?
No, I
Or
made
did you
that up
make
right
that up?
now. But it sounds
You know
cool.
what? You need to trademark that before someone steals it.
I have another fun fact for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you realize that Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory was actually loosely, but based off of a true story?
Yes, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some
How many
interesting
children died in
stories.
that factory?
Well, it wasn't children.
No, give me the stats right there.
That's the difference. Well, part of the difference, but it wasn't children, but it was the special ingredient in this particular chocolate company. The gentleman who ran it was found to be basically a serial killer, and when they caught him, here's the novelty to it. Parts of that story are taken directly from this guy's. He actually did fall into a vat of chocolate, and that's how he died, just like Willy Wonka.
So you mean to tell me that there was a chocolate company out there
A
that
very
had
popular one, a very popular candy company that had people as their special ingredient.
What candy company we talking about here?
I would have to look it up for you. I don't.
Because I need to know. I need to know.
It wasn't like Hershey's chocolate or anything like that. I mean, but yes,
Delicioso.
delicious.
I don't know. Wow. I can't look at candy. I can't look at chocolate the same way again. I'm gonna be like, is this? Who am I eating now?
Well, yeah, okay. On the opposite side of that, supposedly, cocoa promotes stem cell growth. So that's a supposedly thing. I don't know whether that's true or not, but yeah.
Interesting. But okay. Sorry. Before we go down this chocolate people rabbit hole, we gotta get on topic.
More lust.
No. I don't know. I'm just.
Are you giving away Rob's secrets? He's secretly a closet cannibal. Is that what you're saying? I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing.
No, I am not. I am not. I'm not Hannibal Lecter. I'm not that cool. I wish.
Listen, if you are what you eat, then how are you truly human? I know, these are deep questions.
You really are.
The real questions.
And Shadow does know things, and she's gonna do right by me and keep those things to herself.
Oh, Shadow, please. Yes. We don't have to out. We don't have to out him publicly. I mean, you just pop me a DM. We'll chat sometime.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. No problem. I see you. Anyway, moving past that topic, we're going to be talking. We're going to be talking about Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree today, and the new 2024 Player's Handbook that has been information has been released about it from Dungeons and Dragons themselves, from D&D themselves, both on their YouTube pages and just abroad. There's a bunch of people talking about it. So we're going to toss in our 2 cents on the topic, because as much as we rag on WotC and as much as we have been critical of a lot of the decisions that they've made. They actually did a really good job from what we've seen and what the information that has been given. They did a really good job with this one. The 2024 handbook, the changes they've made. As of right now, and again, take it with a grain of salt, things could change, is looking pretty good. So
It's never
We're
too
gonna-
late for them to fuck things up.
yeah, I was gonna say this. They got a couple months because it officially launches in I think September 17th. September 17th.
Look at that, Rob. I didn't even have to say anything.
You did it. It's all Matt. Yeah. So actually, yeah. September 17th.
I bow to you, sir. Take it over. You got it tonight.
You gotta let Matt throw shade. Okay. But let's jump into Shadow of the Erdtree, and as you can see, our title probably tells you a little bit, and it's true. Some games are not for everybody, and with
So
Shadow of the Erdtree, no, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the main thing that's causing a lot of, like, I guess you could say, discourse. I don't want to say controversy because I don't know if it's that level, but there's a lot of discourse going around Shadow of the Erdtree right now because on Steam right now its reviews are mixed, and so there are a lot of people who haven't enjoyed this DLC. And for reference, because I tried looking up like that ratio of like Steam reviews, what leads to it being called like mixed on that store page, which from what I can tell, that's roughly like 40 to 69% positive is when they call the reviews mixed. So that means at the very least, there's 31% of people who haven't enjoyed it and left negative reviews, and at worst, 60% didn't like it. So obviously, this DLC has been very divisive amongst the Elden Ring fan base.
Very much so. Yeah. They've been people have not been happy.
So the main thing people have been talking about is the difficulty of the DLC, which, you know, that from what I've heard, yeah, they do step up the difficulty. Gerwolfen, all the bad reviews are just Trollbots sources. Trust me, bro. The best source.
Trust me, bro, is always the best source.
Yeah, exactly.
Never wrong.
But yeah, like the DLC is harder than the base game. It's somewhat of a staple for FromSoft that their DLCs are usually, you know, a bit harder than their base game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But I guess the question here is because, you know, I've talked with my brother who has been playing that a lot lately, and both me and him have played a lot of the Souls series from FromSoft's past works and their DLCs. So I was like trying to ask him, like, you know, that difficulty jump that always comes from the base game to the DLC, is that about the same for this one, or does it feel like it jumped way more? And from what I've gathered, it seems like that difficulty jump is about in line with what you usually see. So I guess the question here is, why the different reception? Why is, like, before those other DLCs so widely loved, and why is this one so divisive? I think that's the thing to kind of figure out here.
Well, I mean, we've the three of us have had that conversation over the last couple of days, and you brought up a good point, Matt, earlier today, where the new DLC for Elden Ring, it brought in more than likely a lot of new players to either Elden Ring itself or to the whole From Software catalog. And let's face it, most games are brain dead easy. Most games are pretty. You roll your face across the keyboard, or you just hold X or whatever. Like they're pretty simple. And Souls games are notoriously difficult. They have a notoriously high skill ceiling, and that's part of their charm. But you also made another good point where he said a lot of folks are casual players to the Souls games. They'll play them once, maybe a couple times, they'll beat them and then put them down. And it's been about 2 years since Elden Ring came out, so it's plenty of time for people to get rusty.
Yeah, so they return when this DLC comes out. You know, they got rusty, and you know they jump in, and yeah, that their difficulty spike is hitting them. And I think that kind of shows who this DLC was aimed at: veteran players, people who play the game a little more like religiously than most. You know, because FromSoft always has a very strong fan base. Like there are lots of people who just have like a bunch of characters, played a bunch of builds, you know, gone to New Game Plus, like up to New Game Plus 7, you know, that type of stuff. That's kind of who this DLC was built for. Those players. But I think there's a level of that perhaps the folks at FromSoft didn't anticipate this level of divisiveness. Because I doubt they knowingly release a DLC that they thought was going to get such mixed reviews. Because remember, like, it's one thing to release an entire game and not have the people like it. You know, you have your intended audience, of course. But this is within Elden Ring's already intended audience that has then essentially been narrowed further down by this DLC to just the veteran of their intended audience.
Yeah.
So, and I think one part of how that may have been that they may not have like realized that this was going to be so divisive is because their community has grown massively since Elden Ring. Like they were able to grow while they were making the Dark Souls series, and like they were gaining more and more like a bigger and bigger player base each time. But Elden Ring was huge for them. Like, I mean, Elden Ring was Game of the Year 2022, I think.
Yes,
I believe it was. And then, yeah, Baldur's Gate was 2023. So yeah, they got a Game of the Year. It was huge for them. So the huge influx of new players who are used to, you know,
easy game.
Don't probably. I don't want to say just easy games because I mean there are lots of tough games you can play out there, especially if you know, play on the right settings.
True.
So I think
say they're not used to games with this high of a skill ceiling. Like I would put the From Software catalog on the bell curve. It's on the right side. It's on the higher end of skill ceilings. I wouldn't say it's the highest, but it's definitely up there. In my opinion, it's top three. Top three.
Oh, yeah, I mean their game design is a testament to essentially. I wouldn't say even just difficulty for difficulty's sake. It's your ability to learn.
Exactly.
It's about learning the attack patterns that each enemy has and how to avoid them. Once you've learned,
and not just that, but like the systems and the weapons and how all of that stuff interacts.
Oh yeah,
that is one thing I would say about their systems. They do a good job of. Nothing is, at least in my opinion, nothing is wasted. The systems interact really well, and they also enhance the environment, and they interact with that well, from the bosses to the overland environment, the skills and abilities and the weapons. They've done a really good job of meshing all that together and making it meaningful.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say all options are balanced. There are a lot of really shit weapons out there, and there are a lot of really good ones. And there are some broken ass builds. I've seen videos of someone going like a mage build, and essentially unleashing like a fucking Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha wave at a boss and just melting it in seconds. Like, if you build your character right in this game, you can pretty much essentially make it fucking easy mode, you know?
Yes, you can. And here's the thing. Some of the arguments... One second. Go ahead, Greg. You wanted to say something.
I wanted to comment on that because to me it sounds like they know their audience well. and they're designing to their strengths. Yeah, you know, and I would never fault them for that. Okay,
Oh yeah.
you know, rough reviews, I get it. Some people bitch about anything, but
Yes.
you know, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. There's in many ways there's no such thing as bad publicity, but
True.
you know,
True.
it's about getting the name out there, getting the name of the product out there. Whether people are you know, yelling its praises or bitching about it, either way, the more attention it gets, the more people know about it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's honestly what's ended up happening. I mean, there's been a number of people reporting on it. Literally, almost everyone on Twitch is probably playing it. At least all of the game streamers are probably playing it at this point. Um, you know, it's getting a lot of attention, and rightfully so, because again, you know, Matt's brother, you know, we've talked to him quite a bit, and you know the reviewers and stuff like that have put out their videos, and aside from the difficulty spike, which again is typical from software, they have nothing but good things to say about the DLC. So that means
Yeah.
they again, like you said, they play to their audience, which is good because, as our title suggests, not every game's for everybody, and that's okay. You know, if you have a game, if you have a certain theme that and especially if it's a series, or if you've created, you know, a particular genre, because that's honestly that's what happened with From Software in the games. Souls-like, that is now a genre of video game,
Yeah.
and it's great. And they lean into that, they play towards that, and honestly, you know, as game designers themselves, like you said, I wouldn't fault them for doing that, not at all, because you have a vision for your game, and this is going to sound, I mean, this might come out wrong, but don't sacrifice your vision for the masses. Don't try to appease and make a game for everybody to come play your game. Like,
Well, you can't try to appeal to everybody. You
yeah,
got to figure out who is your audience and focus on delivering value for them. If you try to focus on making everybody happy, you're not gonna make
crap.
anybody happy. You're gonna make a
Yeah.
crappy game,
So
right?
I'm gonna offer some pushback on that because that applies to a standalone game, but this is a DLC within the game. Like they are, like I'd say when you have your game and you've had that core audience, the DLCs you make, wouldn't you want to appeal to that audience you already have? Or would you want to narrow that down with this audience that you've already successfully narrowed to your game and say, of this audience, this DLC, this is specifically for you?
Well, who's doing the complaining? I mean, that's part of that argument right there. Is it their core people? Is it the you know the true diehard audience, the people who really are in love with Elden Ring, and you know that's their thing? Are those the people that are saying, "Oh my God, this is too hard"? I doubt it. I don't think those are the people who are saying that.
But yeah, I'd say most of the people who are loving this are the diehard fans.
Right. And that's who they're writing for, because those are I mean, that's their audience right there. You're going to attract more people, but you know, it's just the understanding is that it's not going to be for everybody. It's, you know,
And to
Yeah.
answer your question, Matt, or rather Greg, I think the true fan, I don't want to say the diehard or the real fans, but the fans of the game they're accepting of, hey, like this is par for the course for them. But Matt did clue me in that a lot of not a lot, but at least part of the criticisms of this particular DLC is performance related, and that I've
Oh
come
yeah.
to find out is also kind of, I don't want to say they do it all the time, but and here's the thing, this is something that we all as gamers probably understand. When something new gets released, like that's a really big thing, like a DLC, there's always going to be performance issues until they hammer that out. So I get what you're saying, Matt. Rather, I understand why some reviewers are upset that, you know, there are performance issues, but at this point in time, like, that kind of comes with the territory. Because if you know anything about software engineering and development, you know that's going to happen, period. So I understand those critiques, and they're completely valid. But if people are using that as a way to kind of talk down about the DLC, in my opinion, you're you're spinning the wind, because that's par for the course with any kind of development of software. And if you've been playing video games this long and you haven't figured that out,
that's the water cooler conversation.
exactly.
That's really what that is. You know, you come to expect that when a new product, whether it's a new game, DLC, whatever, something new comes out in this industry, you expect that, you know, you're going to have those people who are going to complain about the performance of the game. They're going to complain about whatever, you know what I mean? Something's wrong with it. It's another one. Something's wrong with it. Why can't anybody make a perfect game? Well, yeah, okay.
Well, let me ask you this then. If no one complained about the performance, do you think it would get fixed?
If no one complained about the performance, Matt, first off, I think that is an impossibility.
Yeah,
personally.
it's impossible.
Well, yeah,
I don't think that's ever
the point
going to
I'm trying
happen.
to say is that like there is a point to people actually leaving like a negative review when the performance is shit.
I'm all about
if
that.
no one did
negative
that,
reviews.
Yeah, well, if they didn't do that, if they didn't make it known that like, hey, this sucks, then would the developers ever make an effort to fix that?
I will say
Nope.
yes. In From Software's case, I disagree. In From Software's case, I'll say yes. And not because I have rose-tinted glasses on or I'm a fanboy. It's because From Software has shown time and time again as a studio that they do care about their players, and they listen, they pay attention. So
Yeah, but the question is, what if the players weren't saying anything? That's you know,
I think
right,
it would
Matt?
still get
Isn't that the
fixed.
question?
It would just take longer.
Essentially, like if
I think the issues would still be seen to. It would just take longer. Because I find it hard to believe that they're just sitting there like, okay, well, we did a great job. That's it, done. We don't have to no updates, no balancing or nothing like that. We're done. I find it hard to believe. But again, I agree that it would take longer, but I think it would still happen. That's just my take on it.
I mean, even assuming, you know, in From Software's case, that would be true, which, you know, you don't know all the different types of machines that they test the game on. So, you know, it's possible that, you know, they may never have really known that on certain machines that the game would run like shit. I mean, look at, you know, the wider games industry. Like many, I think there are many companies out there that probably wouldn't do anything if people didn't say like that, like, hey, this game runs like absolute ass. I'm leaving a negative review because my eyes hurt looking at this shit. You know?
Yeah.
Or my computer's about to fucking explode because the fan's running so hot. You know, that, like, I think when something's wrong, people do need to make their voices heard, because that's, you know, if they don't, then nothing's going to change. I think only the most respectable development studios like From Software or Larian would probably care to change things, even if like that, even if customers didn't make a huge stink about it, just because it's about their own quality of standard of quality.
But voice of the customer is extremely important when it comes to
exactly.
you know, the quality for one, but the value of the product that the company's putting out. And I agree 100% with you, Matt. I think that's, you know, it's important that we as customers let these producers know if there's a problem, if there's an issue. The negative side to it is that even the games that don't have a lot of issues end up getting these detractors. So you have people out there that are specifically just going to go and look for what is wrong with this. They're like the loss prevention people. I mean, they got to go find something wrong because they feel like that's their responsibility to their job, to the world, is to figure out what's wrong with this. Hey, more power to them. You know, it's just, do we, you know, then on top of that, do we base an opinion of a game, any game, solely off of that? Because honestly, if let's back up a moment to 2020 and the release of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
If we would have, as a mass, the market would have just decided based off of the reviews that started coming out, the negative reviews about 2077, if the market would have just openly decided, yeah, this is just a garbage game, nobody wants it, nobody wants to play it, it probably would have died. There had to be some motivation there to continue to push that IP and develop that game. Now, probably part of that is the investment that CD Projekt Red made in it and the other pieces that were already in play, such as Edge Runners, which was already in play. So they knew that was coming. So it wasn't, you got to look at that and think, well, I can't really just let this game die, because the game is part of the larger plan of, then we have this series coming out, and then we have planned updates, planned expansions, and, those things had to happen. And I think that would have been regardless of what ended up happening with the reviews and everything else, that game would have continued to be updated and corrected over time. This particular game that we're talking about, I mean, these reviews are, on one hand, there's the idea that the complaint is that the game's too hard, and that's the one that I'm focusing on. Issues with the game, that's kind of par for the course. I think we've pretty much established that there's no game that comes out doesn't have some sort of issues. Although Baldur's Gate 3, at least the beginning chapters of that game, were pretty damn smooth, pretty slick.
Oh yeah.
I haven't really run into any performance issues. Then again, Larian, they don't have like that level of super detail that much. Honestly, the Baldur's Gate has a fair amount of detail, but you look at some other games in AAA sphere,
yeah.
They got shit, that has super fucking detail. Like you count the fucking hairs on a person's head,
Yeah.
Right.
Baldur's Gate 3, I think, is detailed in a different way. Like, obviously, if you zoom in and stuff like that, and all that stuff, and then the cutscenes obviously are super, super detailed, and all the facial expressions, and all of that stuff. But I think on the whole, it's not as detailed in a macro sense. With regards to like Elden Ring and all that, where you can really see your character, the armor, the weapons, the enemies, like everything on a large scale and in detail. So bear lovers, yeah, the bear lovers. Oh boy,
yeah, good old Baldur's Gate.
Look, I respect Baldur's Gate for going that deep down the rabbit hole.
Look, they're making a D&D title, and one of the draws of D&D is just hearing the crazy fucking stories other people tell about the most ridiculous bullshit that they pulled in their campaign. So you know what? Sleeping with a druid while they're in bear form, honestly, is not that outside of what what actually happens sometimes.
Wow, what games are you playing in?
It's pretty in character for D&D,
Well, what campaigns have you been part of? Because I run both of the campaign. Well, one of the two campaigns that you played. We all got that.
But I'm talking about the stories that you hear. People tell stories about their D&D.
True.
It's like where the class, that stereotype of bard seducing dragon, that type of shit.
True. You do
that. I'm surprised there's not a dragon to seduce in Baldur's Gate, actually.
I mean, there is. It's flying around. You just can't seduce it, I don't think.
That's the point.
Have you tried?
Maybe that's something. Fair.
That's true.
No, Laren, if you ever watch this, maybe I know you said you weren't going to work on Baldur's Gate much anymore. But, maybe just want a little patch for that, okay?
Yeah, patch that in there, man. Trust me, you get
a
lot of play
with dragon magic, and the fact that they like to hide by shape-shifting. I mean, who's to say that you haven't had some sort of involvement with a dragon, Matt?
True.
I mean, you never know.
Is that the reason why I have scales now?
But yeah, so Elden Ring. First of all, From Software. If you guys ever hear this, congratulations on the success. Because despite the reviews on Steam, still a success. And I hope you guys continue for many, many more years doing what you do best. Because I mean, hell, again, from Souls Souls games are their own fucking genre now. Honestly, that's a feather in your cap that most studios can't ever and probably won't ever claim. So
Oh yeah,
kudos to y'all.
Yeah, like essentially creating a new genre that's honestly huge for the world of gaming.
Yeah.
Like,
and for those of you
like back in the day, Doom was a huge deal. You know, like back when that came out, they didn't have a term for FPS, like first person shooter. Back then, they called them Doom clones or Doom clones. Kind of like right now we're saying Souls-like. So maybe in the future a different term will emerge to describe that type of gameplay. But yeah, no, that's kind of how genre creation goes.
Yeah. So again, kudos to them for that one, man. But for the individuals who are complaining about the game being too hard,
don't say it.
Get good, scrub.
Who you're gonna fucking say at some point during here.
Gotta get good.
So here we are having all this intellectual conversation.
What was that? When he says that, I hear a scrub on.
Throw that out the window.
He says that all the time in our games.
I do not. I do not say that. I say it sometimes. But yeah, no, you gotta get better. Like, and I'm not saying that to be an asshole. It's just the games are hard. Like that's their shtick. Just get better at the game.
We lost Matt for a moment.
And yes, Grimwolf, and you are correct. You've made it when parents create a panic of over your game. Which actually, that's a good. Thank you for that, Grimwolf, because that's a good segue into our next topic, which is D&D, which did actually have parents creating a panic over the game back in the 80s because devil worship. And exactly that, Unholy Pawn. Get good news.
We're gonna go play D&D and kill some kittens in the graveyard. Want to come?
Yeah, pretty much. Greg was there for that.
Seriously, I heard that when I was a teenager. I heard exactly, not that way exactly, but that was how it was referred to. Now I'm not really sure where your imagination takes you, but mine doesn't go there. I mean. All right.
So Greg, I have a question. Did your parents stop you from playing D&D?
Actually, no, I didn't have that issue. But I had some friends that did. Absolutely.
Really?
You bet.
Oh,
yep,
wow.
Yep. I had some close friends that they were in the closet D&D players. Literally, they had to hide it. Like they would go up to they'd go to the store with a group of friends and buy themselves some books, whatever new adventure module or
house.
Yep, pretty much. Yep.
That's fucking hilarious. Oh man.
Because if their mom had found it, it would be
Yeah, you saw you.
Phone privileges for you, boy. Anyway,
I don't worship Satan. My warlock does. When I talk about serving my dark master by sacrificing the blood of children, it's in game.
Good character. What are you talking about, Mom? Oh man. Like honestly though, I could see I can see it. I can see some parents who don't know their ass from their elbow walking in on like their kids playing and someone's playing a warlock or something, or
someone is dressed up in dark robes.
I had a unique experience as a kid because all of my siblings in their age group were D&D players. So like when I remember when I was like 5, 6 years old, going with my sister and her boyfriend at the time over to one of my cousins' houses, and they pretty big families, but they would all get together at one of my uncle's house actually, and play D&D. So there'd be like 15, 20 people there playing D&D.
Like at one table or like multiple?
Yeah,
tables?
one table. At one table.
Your uncle would
That's a
DM
lot.
for like 20 people?
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
How long did it take to get to your turn?
Seriously.
You know,
It's like
they
one
wouldn't.
turn a night?
That was the frustrating part, is they wouldn't actually let me play. I'm like 6 years old, so I wanted to play because I'm, getting into all this. They're playing I didn't understand it at first because I'm watching, and one of my aunts is like, oh, I'm talking to another player and talking about the spell that she's gonna cast. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But but yeah. The other piece to that is it also involved a lot of alcohol. So hey,
That's fair.
after a few glasses of brandy, I don't think you really care how long it takes till your turn comes.
True. You probably don't even remember.
Yeah.
All right. So D&D, Wizards of the Coast, and yes, we rag on them a lot. We are critical of some of the decisions that they made, as we mentioned earlier in the episode. But this time, at least from what we've researched, and again, as I said last episode, we will probably be covering this for a couple of episodes yet, because there's a lot of information coming out. To give you guys some numbers, there are 400 spells in the new 2024 PHB. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because some of those spells are going to be similar spells, just kind of copied over from the 2014 edition. Some of them are going to be redone spells, and some might be new spells. But, so there's 400 spells and 75 feats. And there's a reason for that, which we'll get into in a second. But they've done a lot, and this is the thing. This is where I'm going to give WotC their roses. They listened to their community. The last 2 playtests I've kept an eye on, and they listened. They paid attention. They they did right by, like they've improved the ranger. They've improved the monk. People are really excited for the what's coming out. There are actually, I think, 3 new subclasses. I know Barbarian's getting one, which is the World Tree Barbarian. Believe the Sorcerer is getting one. And the Paladin? I could be completely freaking wrong here. If you remember, Matt or Greg, let me know. But I know the Barbarian's getting one, and I know there's 2 other classes that are getting a new subclass. But one of the other things that they did, which I was really excited for, is for those of you who have ever played 3rd edition and 3.5, and you're aware of the psionic classes like Echo Knight or things like the Soul Knife and the Phantom. These are rogue subclasses. Or
Hey, Soul Knife is still around in 5e though.
Well, no, it is, but it's coming
but
out
shit.
as a base subclass in 2020, the 2024 edition. Yeah, because remember those subclasses weren't base. You had to get the other supplemental stuff.
Right.
But now they're introducing more psionic-based subclasses, which is fucking fantastic. Because for the longest time, it was just the Great Old One Warlock.
I am
was one of the
curious. I'm curious about how they make that work, because that was always a problem when it came to the psionics piece, is that it was hard to make psionics and magic in the same world
Yes.
make sense.
Well, I mean, that's going to be interesting to read into from a lore perspective.
Mhm.
I'm actually wondering that myself. But I mean, at the end of the day, you know as well as I do, Greg, it just boils down to the story in the table as to why they're why someone can shoot fireballs and why someone can look at you and give you a headache.
Hey, Razmataz is a Nightblade. I mean,
he's a soul knife.
or Soul Knife, yes. Sorry,
Yeah, soul knife.
Nightblade.
Yeah, we honestly need to have a game with Razmataz on, because he's one of the funniest characters. Like he does finger guns, and they shoot out psionic knives. It's fucking great. It's fucking great. But all right, let's jump into it. So I mentioned 75 feet, right? So with the new 2024 edition of the Player's Handbook, and again, each of the core rule books, so to be the Player's Handbook, which come out in September, I want to say the Dungeon Master's Guide is the second one. That's going to come out in November, and then the Monster Manual will be the last one that comes out in February of 2025. Psionics aren't special. I get headaches too. Grimwolfen, maybe that's your psionic powers manifesting. You just got to lean into it. Got to lean into it, man. Just got to lean into it, buddy. But so the 75 feet. The reason why we're getting that many feats are a couple of reasons. One, feats have changed up a bit. So we now have origin feats, which you get at character creation and actually help facilitate or really customize your character. So for those who've played at a bunch of different tables, for the most part, giving a free feat is what most tables do. I don't think actually. I'm trying to think of. Did I do that for you guys when we played? I don't think
no.
I did.
No, you didn't.
No.
Some of us just took custom lineage.
Yeah. Oh.
Custom lineage or variant human, you know.
Psionics without Dark Sun campaign setting is a sin. Is that where they introduced the psionics?
No. No. They're actually 2E, I believe it is. I have it actually. There is a psionics handbook. Yes.
Okay.
So
it was 2E in general that had the psionics, not necessarily the Dark Sun campaign.
Well, Dark Sun I think actually did come out with 2E. I think I could be wrong.
Okay.
But the psionics handbook actually came out with 2E. So
interesting. Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I played second edition. I played it was a short kind of like I think 8-session campaign. So it was really short. So that was a while back. It was really fun. A little crunchy though. I ain't gonna lie.
Well,
a little crunchy.
2E was
what I'm used to.
2E was the beginning of subclasses.
Yeah.
It's in all the handbooks that were made, because it was basically every one of the main classes plus some had a handbook that went with them.
Okay.
And then the handbook actually had the subclass breakdown inside of it. Anyway.
I think honestly, it's interesting you bring that up, because I think WotC has kind of returned to that form, and what I mean by that, from what they're saying, the new PHB is going to have, and it has basically they've changed up their formatting a bit, so things are a bit easier to understand both from a class and stat block perspective. So that's good for us DMs and for the players, but also they've gone into a bit more detail on everything. And especially like the stat blocks. But we're circling back to the feats. So again, most tables, most of the time, do offer a free feat. Now that's a homebrew thing. A lot of folks in the D&D community do that. And what WotC decided to do was like, hey, look, this is something that everybody does. Let's lean into this. Let's make this rules as written. So now with the 2024 books, feats come naturally. Like they just come with every single class, and thus origin feats were a thing that WotC decided to do to facilitate that, to make it a little bit more impactful.
So I don't have it right here with me, but I do have the Thieves.
Oh, okay.
And nice. I do have the Wizards.
Oh, nice. Those are some pretty dope little booklets there.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so Unholy Pawn says psionics first showed up in first edition as Eldritch Wizardry optional rules in the PHP. Oh, okay, so they had that way back when. Nice. Okay. So cool. Feats are, that's something that's coming out with this new player's handbook, and what's really cool about them there's a couple things. Number one, so feats are more akin to half feats. So what a half feat is, it usually gives you a particular feature, and it gives you a stat boost. So you'll be able to boost some stats and get a nice little, um, so Tavern Brawler is a good actual half feat. You get a boost to, I believe it's your dex or your strength, and you do increased unarmed strike damage. That's one I can pull off the top of my head without actually having to pop open my player's handbook that's like sitting right over there. So that's one of the things that we're talking about with regards to half feats. Most of the origin feats will be half feats. Then they have different categories of half feats. Of feats with the new player's handbook coming out. So that's one aspect. That's, first of all, people are really, really excited about that. And there's also a change to the ability score stuff, or your origin and backgrounds. Now, for those of you who've played backgrounds, how do y'all feel about backgrounds? Current 2014 edition.
I think they're fairly simple. Like, all they really determine is give you a choice of extra proficiencies, a few items, and a very, I call it a very minor feat, where like the what's it called, like the urchin, like being the very poor person growing up, gives you the ability to kind of like make your way through a city faster. Like, very minor things. I don't dislike them, and I think that they're kind of overall minimal effect for the most part. It kind of lets you feel a little more free about which one to choose for the story, rather than thinking of choosing a certain background for min-maxing reasons. Though people still do that, but I think it's a much weaker point of min-maxing your character than a lot of other pieces.
Yeah.
So I think they're fine.
Okay.
Personally, I prefer life pathing. And I don't care for the background pieces, because I would rather do it through a life path system. Now, with that said, the early I haven't seen the latest version of Warhammer Fantasy, but the early versions of Warhammer Fantasy actually took and made very common careers, because what they did, rather than classes, they did career paths, basically. So there, instead of being like 12 classes, there was like 300 classes. I'm just throwing a number out there, but I mean, you could be a farmer, you could be a cook, you could be a wagon driver, you could be whatever you wanted to be. And I don't. That was interesting the first couple of times I did it, but it was just too much, and I don't want to knock on that system too much, because it's a decent system. But by far I prefer life pathing. I think a good life pathing system, where you can create your own concept of your character, and then it just helps to provide backstory to kind of fill in the gaps, so you're not stuck in a spot where you like completely have to make up everything about the character, and it's not rigid. And that's what I think the D&D's approach to it becomes too rigid, because you're kind of locked into something. Like if you're a noble, you get this kit and these options for a skill, and it's usually like 3 or 4 different things you can pick from. And it's okay. So every noble's basically the same.
Well, I see that. More or less, like you'll kind of, depending on how many people take that.
We all wear pantaloons because we're nobles. Anyway,
yeah,
but
I would argue back that the option of different proficiencies and items, and even like those like kind of like values and flaws, are where like each noble can be different. Maybe this noble is really good at, like, say, I forget what the proficiencies that they provide are, but say this one is really good at persuasion, while this other one might be better at like history or whatever they do. Like
Mm.
there is still some difference that you can be allowed. It just gives you a set that you can choose from.
And I would argue that you're just wrong. Anyway.
Okay, let me pull the handbook right now.
No, I think I think it can be better. That's the thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's not that system is you know, complete garbage or anything like that. I mean, it does something for you. I just by far I
And Greg
prefer
was trying to be nice there, hence the pause.
I prefer a life pathing system. Just hands down, I
I-
prefer life pathing.
I get where you're coming from, and I think honestly, the from what information we've gathered, and you know the information that D&D has released, it seems the background system has kind of been seems like they've moved in that direction, Greg. And what I mean by that is, so the new background system that's coming out, it's actually one half of essentially your character's creation piece, like their origin. First it's the background piece, and the second piece is their race, or as they're calling it now, species. For me, I'm just going to call it race because that's what I've always called it, so I don't care. The race. So basically, those two halves.
It's like, you know,
Species makes me think of that sci-fi series.
Yeah,
Anyway.
exactly.
No, it's like Elon trying to rename Twitter X. I'm still
Exactly.
gonna call
Yeah, it's like you guys didn't have to do all that. You could have just called
I'm
races.
still gonna call these races just because that's what's been ingrained in me as a gamer, not just through D&D, but for like everything else.
Yeah.
He's
No.
a
Like,
racist.
y'all didn't have. Honestly, they were going. In my opinion, the whole renaming to species from race was. Y'all didn't have to do all that. You could have just kept it with freaking races. Come on.
I get why, like, technically it's more accurate, like, because it is, but at the same time, it's just like
You're doing too
using
much.
the term races is just
Right.
it's just too ingrained in us at this.
Yeah,
point,
that's what we use.
you know.
Well,
But
you know, when that's honestly, I don't know what the thinking is behind that, but that type of change, you just got to kind of look at that, and it's just one of those things that makes you go, But what is it? What?
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately,
what was
it's
purpose?
it's a minor thing. Ultimately, it
Yeah,
really
exactly.
doesn't matter.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
for like how the game plays.
Yeah. So anyway, but to use popular vernacular, the new species and background make up your character's origin. And the way they explain it is the background that you pick informs what your character did up to the point where they decided to become an adventurer. Which I like because it's kind of leaning towards what you're talking about, Greg, a life path piece. Now I don't know how in depth it goes into, or because you know how the life path
Mhm.
piece, the background piece now, that gives you like a little blurb of kind of what it is. I think
Right.
I think they're keeping something similar to that, but what the new background system is going to do is also gives you your ability score modifier. Ability score adjustments, I should say, like the bonuses that you normally get. So basically, from what I've gathered and what has been said, you pick a background and it'll give you the option of 3 different ability scores that you can adjust, and it's a typical 2 into 1, and either 2 points into 1, 1 and then 1 into the other 2, or you can do 1. An increase of 1 in all 3. I think you can do 3 into 1. I think.
I don't know. I don't think you
again,
can.
I'm
Based on the
I'm
video
unli-
I watched, and they have
yeah,
a similar system in like what's it called, Monsters of the Multiverse.
yes,
It's either
male
it's
gigolo.
either a 2 and then a 1, or just 3 1s. I don't think
No,
they
no,
let you add
it's
up to.
no, I think it's a 2 and 2 1s, and then 3 1. Oh no, you might be right. You might be right.
No, it's just 3
It's
stat.
2.
It's
Yeah,
3
yeah, yeah.
points to allocate,
Yeah,
but
so
you can
it's
only
either-
go up to 2.
2 and 1 and 1
Yeah.
and another, or 1
or
and
3
3
into
different
all
ones.
3.
Yeah, which is the same.
Okay.
That's the same as 5e though.
Yeah,
So-
they're not changing it. They're not
But
changing
now
that
it's in
allocation.
the background piece.
Yeah, but now they have attached it to the background, and then that's the other half that's the one half of your character creation with regards to your species, which I believe your species also gives you stat
You have the
allocation.
possibility of being a weak ogre now. I like it.
Yeah,
or a
Yeah, you
smart
Just
ogre.
doesn't make neither of those make any sense to me.
you could be Drumsy. Drumsy's
Despite
really smart.
how despite how
well, actually, he
idiotic
actually
I
is.
played the character, he
He's
actually
actually
had
smart.
like he had 10 intelligence. You know, that was an average intelligence.
That's-
He's actually a normal person. I
pretty
just
good.
played him like a fucking idiot because it was funny.
Yeah, Drumsy's pretty fucking.
Well,
stupid.
but you
He's
gotta
clever
kind of
though. He's clever.
you can't take you can't take those attributes so literally, because I mean, but honestly, there's people who are very smart. Okay, when you look at what is intelligence really composed of, and a large portion of the intelligence is memory. The thing is, they're uneducated, so they may be very intelligent, but they just haven't been exposed to a whole lot to have the knowledge. But they will absorb new knowledge really quickly, and that's an intelligent person. But the thing is the dogma is that if you're intelligent but you can't speak intelligently, or you don't know a lot of things, then you're a dummy. So you're not really intelligent because you don't, we tend not to factor in the capacity piece to it, and we only look at it from what is your collected knowledge at this point. And there's a big difference between common sense and book smarts, for one thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that's
that's
the,
just to show there are different ways to role play a smart character and whatnot. But just go back to Jonesy. I enjoyed playing him dumber than his stats technically, where it was just fun. Listen, if there's anyone going to play an idiot on, let it be the barbarian, because then they have the large HP pool to survive whatever trouble you're going to get yourself into.
Drumsy learns quick, man. He knows now that tour guides are bad. I mean,
True. Never trust the tour guides.
right.
Kill on sight with tour guides.
And Zara will promote that. Absolutely. Every time.
Absolutely.
If she sees a tour guide, she makes sure to tell Drumsy there's a tour guide.
Tour guides. Tour guides are the bane of Drumsy's existence. But that's kind of what I'm excited about, or some of the stuff I'm excited about. What are you guys excited about with the 2024 book?
Honestly, I'm just excited to see what new options that they have, because they've talked about a lot of things and a lot of new options, and I just love you put some new classes or subclasses, abilities, etc. in front of me. I just love seeing that shit, because the new possibilities to be like, oh, that looks a lot of fun. It's always so much fun. It's like when we were looking at the Edge Runners mission kit, looking at the new stuff they got in there. I'm like, oh, that looks fun. No, I just like looking at new things.
Yeah, Matt just likes the new shinies. And Unholy Pawn,
shiny thing, good. I like
the
shiny.
weapon masteries. I am super, super excited for that. Because it gives us marshals something else to do than just bonking shit on the head.
Right.
And we have to be more intentional with the weapons that we take and the feats that go along with them, and even the subclasses that we pick. It's really fucking. I like that they did that, and I don't know if this is true or not, but you know what? I think they need to give Larian Studios props for that, because I'm pretty sure they got it from them.
It's very possible.
Maybe.
I mean, we talked about this a bit before, whether Larian had a bit of a line in with WotC when they're playing this thing, and it's maybe Baldur's Gate 3 could have been somewhat of a testing ground for some of these ideas.
Rob is just a Larian groupie, man.
Maybe. You know what?
I'm not sure. I mean, again, it could have been a testing ground, or maybe they did just take some ideas from.
That's speculation on my part. And what I mean by that with the new weapon masteries, is, so in Baldur's Gate 3, for those of you who've never played, the weapons actually come with weapon abilities, which if you ever played it and you look at it, kind of is reminiscent of the new weapon mastery system that is coming out in the 2024 Player's Handbook, in that weapons now do other things aside from just stabbing
Attack.
or bonking people. Like they have
Yeah,
new
like
properties.
you have like a cleave attack, or like strike with the hilt of your sword, or do all
Yep,
sorts of
or
things.
and then so each weapon type. So we'll take the dagger, or as an example, and this is a tag that's actually attached to any light weapon, a dagger being one of them, which is called Nick. Now, what Nick will allow you to do is to actually make another attack with a light weapon in your offhand without using a bonus action. Now, unless you have obviously the 2-weapon fighting style, you won't get any of the bonuses there, but you can do that with your offhand as long as you don't have as long as you're using a light weapon in your offhand. And what that does is it frees up your bonus action, do other things. Speaking of bonus actions, one of the other things they did with bonus actions is now drinking potions. You know that thing that used to take a whole ass fucking action?
Had no value to it.
Yeah, had no value to it at all. Now it's
Unless you
bonus
had a
action.
god tier healing potion.
I'm going to drink a
those things
potion
cost-
so that I can use my action to drink that potion and get
Yeah.
6 HP back so that this monster
God,
can
I
hit
should-
me again.
I should
It's
you
gone.
again for like 12. or more.
Yeah.
Like, unless it was very early game, that using an action for a healing potion in the middle of combat,
such a waste.
probably not worth it. So
Yeah.
putting this to a bonus action, I think, is a lot more worth it. Also, very good for classes who otherwise may not have a whole lot of use for their bonus actions.
Like the barbarian.
If you're a barbarian, you're probably not doing a whole lot with that bonus action. I guess unless you're a berserker, because then I think when they're in frenzy, they can use that bonus action for another attack. But unless you're that, you're not doing anything with that bonus action. So having that free just to pop a quick potion, get a little bit of health back. Honestly, that's just good. That's just nice. Feels good,
really
man.
nice.
I'm curious to see how they've done with rebalancing the character classes. Because
That's a good point. Yeah.
yeah,
They
it's
brought a couple of classes up
Poor
to
monk.
stuff with the rest of them.
right.
But no, Monk got an upgrade. Monk is good now.
Yeah, well, I said
Better.
poor monk in 5e,
Yeah. Monk in 2014 5th edition was absolute ass. It's fucking trash.
Well, that's the problem. One of the problems you run into with 5th edition, and I don't want to knock 5th edition all that much, but I mean,
It's still a fun game.
Yeah,
despite its flaws.
but there's such disparity between when you look at the full range of what your options are. There's some classes that are just clearly handicapped. They may level a little quicker or gain a little quicker in the very beginning, but then long term they're late game they're garbage compared to these other classes. And I really, my hope is that they've done something to help balance that out a little bit more, so that the classes are not so different in that way, where especially as you continue through the game. Early game, fighter's a good class. Late game, fighter sucks ass.
Yeah.
In the inverse for wizards.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, actually,
Wizards rule the world late game.
I'm gonna disagree with you, Matt. I don't think wizards do suck early game.
I don't either.
I'd say
they have lower hit
the only
points,
thing is
but
they're squishy. Squishy, and especially early game when everyone's a lot squishier, it's easy to die. It's a lot easier to die early game than it is late.
there is a reason why none of us play wizards in Rob's game, though. I have to say that. But
Why? What were you gonna say?
I had nothing. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm not a main DM.
I'm not picking up on this either.
I've been pretty nice to y'all. As a matter of time. But I can be mean.
All right, so that's my attempt at revenge that failed. I'm seeing. So all right, fine.
Cantrips made casters way stronger. Okay, so why do you think that, Unholy Pawn? Are you talking about like cantrips in general, or some of the new stuff coming out in 2024?
Yeah. Well, like in 5e, like late game, like a cantrip, the way they scale, it's gonna scale better than your basic like melee attacks. Well, yeah, essentially unlimited use spells. Like, like a 4d10 on like a single attack. That's some pretty hefty damage.
Well, that's Eldritch Blast though. That's a unique cantrip that
I
most
think
people don't get.
Firebolt. Firebolt will get that strong.
Does it? You might be
Yeah,
right.
I mean, Firebolt is based on a D10, and I think like all cantrips at scale, there's essentially 4 levels, right?
Yeah.
So it would go up to 40-10.
Third? Wait, no. Wait, it's probably third, fifth, and 11th level. I think I'm gonna have to look that up. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering now what you're talking about. I mean, 4010 is nice, but again, when you get to the max rank, you're probably sitting at mid game, which is around level 10, 12. It's not a ton.
I mean, by then you probably have enough spell slots to
Yeah, you'll have enough spell slots
do
to do
that.
stuff.
But honestly, that point, your cantrip is probably going to be stronger than any like spell slot 1 damage spell you can do.
True, very very true.
They do.
Yeah, they.
Oh yeah.
And here's the thing: I don't mind that cantrips make casters strong early game, because again, marshals are strong early game. What they need to do, and I think what they've did, or what they've done, proper English here, what they've done is with the marshals, I think they've actually had them scaling better into late game, especially the rogue. The rogue class, especially with the assassinate subclass, assassin subclass has actually scaled very very well into the late game with some of the new changes, and we can probably go into them here in a minute. But
which
go
I'm glad
ahead.
about that, because I've looked at the assassin subclass before, but it's very situational when you be able to use what it actually does.
Yep.
So from my understanding, they've I think like the main assassinate does a bit less. At least this is what from what you told me, Rob.
Yeah,
the assassinate ability does less damage, but it's a little more usable.
Yeah, it's more usable. There are things in the assassin's kit now that like cutting strikes, which I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I should have probably written down some notes somewhere, like a normal human being. But there was just so much information in there. Baldur's Gate and Rogues are fun. Baldur's Gate 3 did definitely, how do I put it? They don't necessarily follow rules as written on some of the things there.
Oh yeah,
but that's okay. That's okay.
Thief subclass in Baldur's Gate is nutty because it gives you a second bonus action. That's huge.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't do that in 5e.
Right. Thief does. Yeah, they don't have a second bonus action in 5e.
So the exciting thing for me is the reintroduction of Greyhawk.
Oh yeah, they are reintroducing Greyhawk as a setting.
Okay, I guess I missed that.
It's coming.
That's interesting.
It's coming in the DMG, but yeah, they are reintroducing Greyhawk as a setting.
So DMG, so that's going to be November of this year. Ooh, okay.
I'm excited for that, because that's where I started at, was Greyhawk, right?
That's going to be. I wonder. Honestly, I wonder how that's going to be received by the Greyhawk purists.
Well, if you talk about purists, then anything but the exact thing that they love is going to be bad. It's probably
going to be met with some criticism, which is fair. So Unholy Pawn, would you consider yourself a Greyhawk purist? And yes, Nick will definitely
PTSD. So I might say that doesn't sound like a purist.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like someone who's ready for that to come back. But yeah, I do like cunning action Unholy Pawn, and it does, like, they do a lot. Like they offer a lot of stuff for the kit for rogues and assassins especially to do into late game. Then you get a lot of more options. And from what I've seen of a lot of the classes and subclasses now with the 2024 edition, they've added that exact thing where you have more options to do things. One of the only critiques I have so far is the freaking the changes to Paladin. Not a fan. Not a fan. I get why they did it, but I don't like it.
Okay, and so let's talk about what this changes, because we've talked
Okay,
about
go ahead,
this
Matt.
and like why it probably happened. So, and you can correct me in case I get this wrong, but Divine Smite as an ability is now, rather than something just ingrained in the Paladin, they do need to take it as a spell, and it uses
No.
right? No,
It's so it
I thought
it is a spell now, but it's an always prepared spell.
oh,
they
okay,
always
so it's
have
one of
it.
those. Okay,
Yeah, they always have
okay,
it.
so there's that, but the main thing is that now it requires a bonus action to activate.
Yep.
Because before, and this is the thing that I always thought was very strange about Divine Smite in 5e, is that it doesn't require any kind of action to activate. It's completely outside of your action economy. As long as you hit a melee attack, you can pop that shit. It doesn't cost a reaction, doesn't cost a bonus action, doesn't cost you anything besides the spell slot used for it. Which, if you put it in the terms like that, the
It's a little
impact it
nutty.
has is kind of crazy. Because imagine this: so you have your 2 attacks. You're able to pop Divine Smite on both of those. So you've done 2 things without using any, like, I guess technically, without
Any
using any additional actions.
Yep.
If you're using like a pole arm, use the pole arm.
Mighty
You have the
Mixed
feat,
Miter.
you can use your bonus action for another attack. Boom, a
But-
third smite.
Yep.
Someone tries to move away from you, you have to
Attack of
use your
opportunity.
reaction for attack of opportunity. There's a 4th smite. You could do potentially 4 smites within a single round.
Yeah.
And that burst damage, because smites aren't part of the action economy, is a little insane if you think about it.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I can
as a
see
paladin,
why.
if you do that, you'll be out of spells real quick.
Right.
True, but the ability to melt down, especially a very strong opponent, that quickly,
Yeah.
maybe not the best like overall game design. Because
Yeah, but
imagine,
once you're out of Divine Smite, I mean, you basically become a fighter with lay on hands.
Pretty much, yeah.
true,
And,
but
and you
that's
don't
better.
you don't have Second Wind or any of the
I mean,
other.
that's better than a like wizard with no spell slots. Still, because I mean, you still have like you can still do your attacks for decent damage. You have
yeah.
you're still pretty tanky. Like
True.
Like
you have
a
your aura
paladin
still.
with no spell slots is nowhere near as hopeless.
Baba Yaga.
as no spell slots.
Yeah, yeah. So all the OG characters, Vecna, yeah, Vecna was from Greyhawk. I remember that. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Mordenkainen. Yes, Mordenkainen was from there. Yep. Even I believe even Tasha came from the Greyhawk setting because she was around.
Mhm.
Lore-wise, she was around the time of Vecna. Yep, she was around
All
the time
of-
of Vecna. She's actually one of the witches or wizards, I guess, whatever you want to call her, from that time. She didn't start out that way. She was actually a slave girl, I think, and then she found a grimoire, learned some spells, and then now she's Tasha. She's a powerhouse in and of her, in her own right. So
She's got a cauldron of everything.
exactly. She's got a cauldron of everything. So
Yeah.
well,
But,
just gotta go
I mean-
read. You know what that says? You just gotta go read books. So Matt, go get to reading.
Never.
That was actually one of my favorite spell. Baba Yaga's hut was one of my favorite spells at one point.
They
in
still
time.
have that, but just in a
Mhm.
different variation now, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called now, but I do remember seeing that spell.
But I guess back to the paladin beasts,
Yeah.
because now it is a bonus action
Again.
to activate your divine smite.
Hmm.
One, I think this makes other options a paladin might have a little more viable because divine smite was so central and powerful to the paladin skill set. I think it also means that they have to consider a little more whether or not to use their divine smite, because maybe now that you're using your bonus action, I mean, there are other things you can do with your bonus action. Maybe you want to pop that health potion, or maybe there are other like spells or other actions that use a bonus action. You now have to think about it a bit more. Before it was like, oh, I hit, okay, pop that shit, bam. You only had to consider the spell slot, and that is it. Now there's a little more to consider, a little more like strategy to how you come to your decisions. So I think for the overall like health of the class and giving it a bit more variety, and of course that probably does depend on what other options the Paladin has now. But I think it works well. I think this potentially will give the Paladin a bit more variety and viable options, and just make it so that Paladins aren't just the smite machines.
Yeah, they got options. They get to do other things besides, like you said, continuously smiting. Which I kind of gripe about it only because there are certain interactions that are no longer going to be viable for the Paladins that are really now ingrained in what people do with Paladins. But I think
like the Polearm Master bit.
Polearm Master, yeah. That,
which
but I
is
think
a
that
nutty. It is nutty.
It is, yeah, because you get essentially potentially 3 attacks.
Yeah, 3 attacks. A potential 4th should attack of opportunity happen, and each of those can be a divine smite. Like that's a lot, honestly. So like while it is technically a nerf, I'm not going to call it what it isn't, and those are always going to ruffle some feathers.
Why won't you just let the Paladin be a badass?
Because they sold their soul to the deities. It's not their power. It's borrowed.
It's borrowed power, huh?
Exactly.
Well, clerics are borrowed power too, then.
Yeah, so warlocks. Nerf them all. They didn't earn that shit. They just looked at God and went, pretty please? Everyone else, they worked for their shit.
Here's the oddity to you for that when it comes to the gods piece in like clerics and whatnot. Not all of the recognized deities in the realms, this is a lore piece for you, but not all the recognized deities are actually even still alive. There are some gods that grant powers to pantheons that the god itself is no longer even alive, but a different god grants their powers to them just to keep that going. Yep.
That's just wacky.
Grim Wolfen said, "Buff Eldritch Blast."
Oh yeah, it sorely needs a buff.
Yeah,
please. Warlocks are hurting right now.
That skill is so it's lacking. It's lacking a whole lot. We need more.
Need more.
Warlock life. We're being ironic, ladies and gentlemen. Eldritch Blast is probably the strongest cantrip, bar none.
Oh yeah, with the stuff you can do with it via Eldritch Invocations, it's insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And rightfully so, because it is the Warlock's bread and butter. So I get why. So
another thing that was discussed when it came to the player's handbook for 2024 and its there's some interaction with 5e. So there's also a level of backwards compatibility, kind of, where you're actually able to take a character you've made in 5e and play it in the 2024 game, and that works. It does not, unfortunately, work the other way around.
Yes.
Like if you wanted to make a character in the 2024 edition and bring that back to 5e, there's certain like abilities and things that aren't really defined in 5e. But everything in a 5e character works in 2024. So like that, I mean, that does mean that like if you have like a character you're running your campaign with, you can just bring that shit over with the new edition. You can keep on playing that same character. like as they are. You don't. I mean, you could change things if you wanted to. If that's how your DM wants to do it, but you could just play them as they are.
Yeah, which I'm
So
excited.
I guess
That's what we should be able to do.
I guess paladins, you could just make your character in 5e and just if you want Smite to work that old way, just make a 5e paladin and bring them over to 2024.
So we've been calling it the 2024 handbook. Has anybody actually heard of what they're calling this fucking thing? Is it 5.5? Is it 1 D&D? Like, what is it?
I mean,
is it fifth edition enhanced?
That's the thing. Like the interview that I watched, which it's the thing that you sent me when they talk a lot about the player's handbook. They just referred to it as the 2024 handbook. In fact, they didn't refer to 5e as 5e. They call it 2014. So they're referring it to by years instead of like edition. So it makes me wonder if that's how they're going to refer to it actually now. Like, this isn't going to be 5.5e or 6e or whatever. If they're just going to call it, this is Dungeons and Dragons 2024. I don't know. That's a speculation. We'll see. But
I got you.
That's just how they're referring to it right now. 2024.
I got you. It needs a name. I'm sorry. It needs to either be 5.5 or something, because D&D 2024 edition. It's too much. It's too much of a mouthful. We need something shorter.
I mean, I call it 5.5, but maybe they just don't want that confusion when talking about 5 and 5.5 in the same sentence.
Well,
so it doesn't sound like this weird word salad.
If you think about it, here's just a thought for you, okay? Calling it 2024, not really such a bad idea, because each one of these versions of D&D is technically in and of itself its own game, functioning off of the lore of the overall world that was created. And when you do it, when you address it by versions, you essentially it leads to the assumption that each version replaces the last one. And that's I think that's smart on their part to step away from that version idea and just this is Dungeons and Dragons 2024. It's going to be different, but it's supposed to be different.
Fair enough.
Maybe. I guess we'll see as they get closer to releasing the actual thing. But honestly, they're close enough to where they probably should have like the official title already set. So that makes me think they are just going to call it 2024.
Well, and there's a lot of older stuff now that's also starting to be reprinted. And there's a pretty good sized community around 2E. And a lot of the 2E era, 2E 3 era stuff that was coming out of TSR, part of the Gygax collection, is being reprinted right now. And that's there'll be sort of a renaissance in that area for those games. And they're designed off the rules specific to 2E or 3E. So they're compatible, but not they don't necessarily easily translate over to 5e, because there's quite a bit of difference there. Some people will probably tell you, yeah, they translate really easy. Well, it's a matter of opinion, I guess. But they are, that's its own game. That's I think the point behind it is that's its own game. And to when you start looking at version pieces like version updates for Windows, I mean, are you do you deliberately want to go back and use Windows 98? Probably not. Or 95.
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, see, but that's the difference in it, is that 2E D&D is still playable as a standalone game. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not functional now because we have 5e. It's completely functional. You can go back and play basic D&D, and it's a completely functional game. There's it's not the same as 5e, or D&D 2024, but it's still a functional game. So
Yeah.
I think it's a smart move if they do that. Break out of the mold of this is version 1. Whatever 5.5.
It's true. That's actually a good way to put it, because again, like you said, it keeps each version playable completely, kind of self-contained.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
And
as
people may
long
not
as
people
it's-
may not like this new version. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are like, no, I play 5e. I don't want, I don't like this
Don't play
new
this
thing.
shit. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'd say I'm fine with it as long as it's easy to keep track of like when each edition kind of comes out, or like the order of things. Wait, isn't it called 1D&D now? Are they still going with that? Because that was like what they were saying early on, but I haven't heard them use that term in a while.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that one on Olipon. I don't like Matt.
Which
Like Matt said, I haven't really heard them really use it. It could be
which
1D&D.
frankly,
Well,
I
Dicebreaker says it's D&D 2024. So
okay. Because I was about to say I hated 1D&D like that, because it's the same reason I hated the Xbox One. Because I'll get into it. Xbox and how they name their consoles is confusing as shit. Because you have the Xbox, you have the Xbox 360, the Xbox One. Remember, don't confuse the Xbox One with the first Xbox. Xbox One is not the first Xbox. And then you have the Xbox Series X or S, or like past the one, I get confused on shit, whether it's X or like what the fuck they're doing. That's why I like PlayStation. You have PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. That shit's easy to keep track of. I know what the newer one is and what the older one is. Not whatever Xbox is doing. And
right, but
I'm curious what they're going to name their next thing and how I'm going to be confused by that.
But all those game machines are meant to replace the old one. That's the idea behind it.
Based on the name, can you tell? Like, if I just told you the names, would you be able to tell which one replaced which?
Well, with the Xbox, I mean, they're just insane anyway. But
yeah, exactly. If I told you the PlayStations and asked you to be like, which one do you think is most recent? Which one do you think is oldest? That is the easiest shit to figure out. Can you count? Yes, you got it.
Jeez.
That's why I think like there should be a level of simplicity in how you name essentially your series of products like this. That's why, like, when it comes to D&D, Grimwolfen, what if you can't count? Then it's too late for you, buddy. It's too late. Give up on life. You failed.
1, 2, 3.
Then Nintendo went nuts. Then I mean, that I think can apply to Nintendo as well, because I think that was very apparent with the Wii U. A lot of people didn't realize that the Wii U was an entirely different system from the Wii. They didn't realize that it was the next system. A lot of people thought it was just the controller with a big screen on it, because their naming convention was shit.
Wow.
That's why. That's why PlayStation is easy. That's why up until now, D&D, keeping track of which came first and which is the most recent was easy.
I gotta say, I love it when he gets fired up on a topic.
If they keep it to years, that does the same effect. I mean, because now you'll be able to see, like, all right, this is the 2024 version. That's in the past. This is going to be like the 2035, in the future or whatever. Like, be able to keep track of, like, what is the new, what is the old, just based off its title. That's simple. It's easy. It works.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the official title for this is going to be. It's interesting. I hope they don't keep it the 2024 edition. I don't know.
At this point, they're so close to like launching this stuff. I feel like it'd be really dumb of them not to have that title set. So I feel like it's going to be 2024, but we'll see. Watch your words about Nintendo. They're always listening, and lawyers are frothing at the mouth. You're not wrong. Honestly, you don't want to fuck with Nintendo. They will bury you.
Yes, they will. Very much so. They're They've gotten
They're aggressive.
better. They've gotten better though. They're
When it
still
comes to like
pretty-
YouTube
pretty
and
raw.
Twitch, they've gotten better about that, but there are other areas where Nintendo is still very aggressive.
True.
Nintendo
Nintendo
NES,
sue you.
SNES, Game Boy, GameCube, Wii U, sue you. Oh, that is Nintendo. Though. Like, what's that? A not-for-profit fan game you're making because you love our product so much?
Cease and
Get
desist.
the fuck out of here! You're going to jail, motherfucker.
Yep.
I mean, one thing to understand is that they don't have fair use laws in Japan like they do here. So, like, by their own laws, they are justified in doing that shit. But come on, man. Let people make a fan game, especially if they're selling the fan game based on the IP, then yeah, I get that. But if it's just a free fan game, come on.
No.
All I'm saying is maybe they should stop, slapping down on their own community, their own fan base. Not the best look.
But the concept piece, Nintendo's an old company. And the market has shifted so much since for over the last 100 years. Let's just say there was a point in time where the creators were in charge. They were in control of the marketplace. And from there, it became the manufacturers. And there's a point in time when the manufacturers were in control of the market. Then we entered a space where the consumer was in control of the market. And at this point, I'm not even. Who the hell knows who's in control of the market anymore? But
Clowns.
The clowns. Yes, definitely the clowns.
Clowns are totally in charge of the fucking market. Have you seen it lately?
I'll take the Nintendo's far from a perfect company. They have their own bullshit, but I'll take their bullshit over some of the other bullshit you see in the gaming industry with what we've talked about at length at this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So
I have no problem.
Nintendo's definitely very different.
I have no problem with anybody's whatever their business style is. It's not one that I would personally choose. That's I guess the easiest way to put it. They are ultra protective of their IPs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to protect your IP to some extent, but
oh yeah,
growth comes down to building a community around your product anymore. That's you're not going to grow unless you do that. So
yeah. But anyway, back to enough about Nintendo. Now I love Nintendo as despite how they can be at times. But back to D&D.
Silly doesn't qualify as a clown, man. Sorry.
You can be silly without being a clown, but you can't be a clown without being a little silly.
Yeah.
It's like the rectangles and squares bit, What clown isn't silly? Come on, name me one.
Ronald
if
McDonald?
You're gonna say Pennywise? No, Pennywise was still a goofy bastard. He was just also terrifying and liked killing children.
Ronald McDonald.
He was also a space spider.
True, but he's a goofy space spider.
They are some big shoes to fill. Yes, they are.
That's why it's so hard to be a clown, man.
All right, back to D&D. One of the things that I am looking forward to, and I'm curious about actually, because again, we've talked about a number of different aspects that they've come out. They come out with new weapon masteries and interactions that way, spells and what have you, and obviously the changes to classes and all that. What I'm excited and curious to see are things regarding the monsters. And what I mean by that, with taking into these the weapon masteries into account and the effects that they add to these different weapons, which is awesome because it it incentivizes players picking different weapons, because oftentimes, as we all know, we've all played D&D, we've talked about it. Typically, for most of the game, at least for the first, we'll say 6 levels, for most cases, whatever your starting equipment is, that's your best equipment that you're going to have for a while. And these weapon masters will incentivize you to vary up your purchases. You see a flail, or you think your character might,
Oh my
be changing
God.
up
It kind
their
of sounds
tastes.
like maybe they're introducing an actual economy.
Exactly.
Perhaps.
I don't know all the details, but I do know that there's a new change to the crafting system that is coming with the 2024 core rule books. I think it's going to come in the DMG. I think, or it might come with the player's handbook. I don't know. It's going to come with either one of those two. Which, if it's better than the shit that we're getting, the shit that we have with the 2014 edition, I will be so much more happier.
Oh yeah,
Because it's
Well,
garbage.
I'm definitely all for the weapons being a little more unique. Because let's compare, say, the Great Sword and the Maul.
Yeah.
There's practically no difference. The only difference is that one does slashing damage and the other does bludgeoning damage. And 99% of the time, that's not going to make a difference. Only for a very select few enemies is that going to make a difference. So
And depending on
Yeah,
what
it-
armor you're wearing.
Yeah. Depending.
yeah. So I mean, unless you take a feat that works with there's the slasher feat or the crusher feat that works with weapons that deal different damage types. Unless you have that, or unless specific enemies, essentially very specific conditions, what weapon you're doing is not going to make a huge difference. So the weapon masters having these new little abilities, that's going to make it matter a lot more what kind of weapon you use. It may even make you consider having more than just one weapon on you, because it's well, this one has a cleave or something, so I could use that when there's more than one enemy in front of me, or this one may be a bit better at a single target type thing. So it's a little something extra to consider for which weapon you want to use in which situation, which is great. That I think that's exactly what marshals need to be a little more interesting. Because I get that marshals, they're definitely very beginner friendly, and I think that simplicity is very much intended. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because while it's very new player friendly, that simplicity can also lead a bit more experienced players to be a little
Bored.
underwhelmed with their options.
Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
think just adding a little bit of extra in there is definitely a very good idea, especially since it's something extra, but also not too much extra to where a new player coming in is going to look at all these options and just get analysis paralysis.
Overwhelmed.
They're not going to feel overwhelmed, lock up, and just leave. Because
But also-
God knows that's probably happened with a new player looking at a spellcaster.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I know that happened to me,
spells,
for sure.
the spell list, which one? And they just maybe this game isn't for me.
Spell lists
How
are a
many
pain
people
in
do
the
you think
ass.
Yeah,
Spell
I mean, it's the
list,
same. It's the same criticism I have of say, I love Cyberpunk, but the same criticism they have towards there. A new player coming in for the first time and looking at that massive list of skills. Yeah, no, that's daunting, and that's chased away quite a lot of people who just decided, they didn't want to try to figure it out. They're maybe this game isn't for me. They put it down and never come back.
Yeah, the simplicity piece. I honestly, I gotta say it, Free League. I mean, the Year Zero engine has the simplicity part down pretty well, so that makes it easy, low barrier of entry for new players, because you don't have to go through and try and understand a whole bunch of different things and make a whole bunch of different decisions that may or may not have an impact on your character, depending on how you want to play the character. So,
Yeah.
and I don't want to knock any system, not doing that tonight. I'm not knocking anybody tonight, but there are some challenges there, and I agree with you 100%. I love the cyberpunk system, but there's that massive list of skills that's out there is unnecessary. But
yeah. I mean, honestly, it comes down to our stream titles. Some games aren't for everyone.
Right.
Just like a system that's super crunchy can be off-putting to some, whilst others love that complexity. Meanwhile, like what you see a lot with freely pressed games, a lot of them have a lot of simplicity. That's easy for a lot of people to get into, but for those craving a little more complexity, maybe that's not quite their jam. It's why we have options, and that's also why D&D created different complexities within their classes. So I mean, they were essentially trying to make a class for everyone.
Yeah. And I agree with you on Holy Pawn.
And it bankrupt TSR, so I mean, what does that tell you?
Like, I agree with you on Holy Pawn. They probably should have kept like those maneuvers as core for different. Basically, what masteries are turning into now. That's what maneuvers should have been that. Because again, it gives you options other than just smacking shit with your sword. But I will say this: I think the new mastery system is even better than maneuvers because you can mix. So let's say you have, I think one of the examples was given was Nick and Vex. So Vex, I believe it's on a short sword or a long sword, one of the two, and then Nick is on light weapons, so like daggers, scimitars, anything considered a light weapon. And what Vex does, I believe it gives you advantage on your subsequent attacks. So let's say you're a rogue and you're looking for that sneak attack, you could use your one-handed weapon that has Vex to set up a sneak attack, because what you have to get sneak attack is advantage, unless I'm remembering that wrong, and either of you guys can correct me on that, because I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure all you need is advantage or an ally standing within 5 feet, which again will give you the advantage that you need. But anyway, you could set that up with one weapon to enhance the abilities of your next attack. So I like that. I like that they're allowing for the mixing of these different weapon masteries for folks who are using 2 different weapons. Or you could, I believe they stack. I believe weapon masteries might stack. I think. Don't quote me on that, because I mean you might have those guys who want to use 2 short swords or 2 long swords. So I would imagine that those benefits might stack, but again,
all at the same time.
Maybe.
Hey, if you have monkey feet, you could have the long swords in your hands and the short swords in your monkey feet. It's easy. You may not have much of the mobility.
You lay on your back and fight.
Yeah, but for anyone coming at you, you're like wagging around like 4 swords. They'll be like, you know what? I'm just going to leave you there.
Yeah, never mind.
Bayonetta.
Bayonetta. She's got 4 guns. Her heels are guns. You know what? So
those aren't her feet. Those are just the heels that she is wearing, which happen to be guns, and she shoots them with her toes. Question mark.
So actually, you know what? No, you could totally do dagger heels.
Sure.
You could totally do that.
Sure.
Okay, Matt. All right. Dagger heels.
Yeah, perfect for the Femme
made by
Fatale
Stiletto
character. Exactly.
Yeah, made by Stiletto. Stiletto heels with real stilettos.
See, Watsy, you listening? We're listening? We're giving you some prime ideas here.
Yeah, I mean, right? Yeah. You better credit us with this shit.
Yes. Special item.
Wait, what? Credit?
Heel.
No. This is Watsy we're talking about. I mean, come on.
That's a good point.
Look, I'll take bragging rights at this point.
They stole
that from me.
Honestly, I can agree with you on that one on Holy Pawn. That is true. But here's the thing: fighters do get the most weapon masteries or access to the weapon masteries for obvious reasons. If the fighter didn't get the most access to them, there'd be something wrong. But I think basically what I guess the general consensus is of all the things that we've been talking about tonight, and we'll continue to expand on as the information becomes available, is it seems like WotC, in part at least, the guys who are developing the game, not necessarily the higher ups, but the guys who are developing the game, Jeremy Crawford, Chris Perkins, they've been listening. They've been listening to the community. They've been paying attention, and what they've put in are what people seem to want. So far, so this could be WotC kind of turning a page, so to speak, and really, paying attention to shit. And maybe we'll the DMG that comes out when they go into that. Maybe it'll be some new and improved stuff for the DMs out there. The crafting system is one of them that needs fucking work. And then, again, Greg, I think you said it, and Holy Pawn, you said it, that they're reintroducing the Greyhawk setting, which I love the Greyhawk setting. I actually have some of the first fantasy books I ever read was Greyhawk, and I didn't know it was D&D. But at that time, I was still a kid. I was I think 8 or 9, so I didn't know it was D&D setting. I thought it was just a cool fantasy book. But yeah, I've read some of the Greyhawk novels as a kid. They're lulling us into a false sense of security. They're up to something. I mean, tinfoil, aluminum foil hat here, man. You might be right. They might just be getting us ready for the 1-2 combo.
Well, I think there's a lot of credence to that, at least as long as we make it Hasbro owns them.
Oh yeah, they're.
That's
I mean,
true.
whether or not they're coming up with a new edition, it's WotC. They're up to. They're playing some kind of shenanigans,
they got something
Hasbro's
prepared.
planning shenanigans. But yeah, I mean, something. I'm sure we'll hear some kind of news in the coming weeks about another WotC oopsie.
Yeah, WotC.
But if they can make a good game, then kudos to that.
Yeah.
Because I do love D&D, and I do want to see the franchise continue to do well.
Yeah, I'm gonna give them their flowers on this one.
Yeah, despite the bullshit that they pull as a company.
Yeah. So, WotC, the future's looking bright for D&D. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll see what you guys come out with in the coming months, huh?
It's early yet. I don't, like I said a couple weeks ago, I don't think D&D is going anywhere.
No, definitely.
But I do firmly believe that there's a lot of stuff on the horizon that's going to chew into that market share. And
absolutely.
Cyberpunk keeps on growing.
They absolutely should.
AC20's coming up.
MCDM
competition is good.
Out.
Competition is good, and
I don't think that here they've been making this game all along through the last couple of years, and while making the game, all of these issues that they've been having along the way. I don't think okay, Player's Handbook looks all right, so this must be everything's turning around now and they're listening to people.
No.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that.
I'm hopefully skeptical. I'm hoping that this is a turning page for WotC, that they'll continue to listen to the community, put out the things that we want to see and play. But part of me is waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Let me put it like this. I'm optimistic about the game itself. I'm pessimistic about the business practices that are going to surround it. We'll see how that goes.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. Because for right now, again, from what we've been seeing, the information that's already out there, the reception of cautiously optimistic, the reception of
that's the term.
What's been being put out by WotC and what's being shown of the 2024 Player's Handbook is in line with what players wanted. That's a good sign, but again, it's still early. With that said, though, we are coming up close to time, and we do need to do some housekeepings. Oh, Lankmar. What is that? Is that another setting in the Greyhawk?
It's yes, it is. It is an adventure module. It's I believe this was partially an inspiration for Waterdeep and Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Okay.
But it's very similar. It's a different setting
like a
and
mini
whatnot. But
dungeon.
yep.
Okay. Yeah,
It's
I
good.
remember.
Lankmar's
Yeah, I
pretty cool.
remember the early days of D&D. Like mega dungeons were kind of a thing they did for a little while, but they quickly moved off of that. Very low magic world. Okay. Yeah, I do know that the Greyhawk setting, at least, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but it's not like super high magic. It is more of a low magic kind of situation, which I like.
Yeah, Forgotten Realms really kind of blew up a lot of the. I mean, when they really started expanding things out, and they brought in the Forgotten Realms piece with all of that to go with it. You know, it definitely, the Gold Coast part, and it expanded a lot on the magic piece, and like, you know, the Red Wizards of Thay, the you know.
The Wizards Council and all that, like the
Right.
Black Staff and all those individuals.
Well,
yeah.
and they also really built upon the Pantheons piece at the same time.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
there's really good stuff that happened there. So we're actually a little past time.
Okay,
If
that's fine.
yeah, up to you.
Well, no, I was going to ask you what in terms of housekeeping, what do we got for the
Well-
rest of the week, mañana?
For the rest of this week, nothing.
Yes.
Nothing.
Okay.
I am not planning on doing a game stream until after the holiday.
What's
That's
the
it.
holiday?
Which holiday?
Wow. Really?
There are a lot of holidays. Okay.
Yeah, it's a holiday
Which one are we
coming
talking about?
The celebration
July-
of
Oh, 4th of July?
our separation from
From
King
the English.
and yeah. Yeah.
When we decided tea was not going to cut it anymore, we need coffee.
4th of July. Holy cow, man.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, just yeah, that's right. 4th of July is right around the corner. This is true.
Yeah, well,
yes.
it's next Thursday, so I mean, well,
yeah. So yeah, we're going to be taking a break, which is good because that gives us time to prepare some stuff, because we do have some things in the works for you guys, in terms of story and what have you. As we've said previously on the stream, we are shifting gears to start playing a couple different games and expanding the story pieces, in terms of our game RPG. Don't worry, the update log is not going anywhere. We will still be here to report every Wednesday on what we got going on. We're just changing gears on our game stream.
we have a couple other things that we're working on as well. So I do want to mention this, for anybody who is in the, well, we'll just say greater Green Bay area or Wisconsin, or wants to travel to Green Bay. If you're interested in doing a little gaming, we might be entertaining the idea of putting on some games in the Green Bay area. So that's kind of in the works. If you're interested in something like that, please do reach out to us. Let us know.
Join our Discord.
Yeah, join our Discord. But reach out to us, let us know. We're putting some thoughts together there, and we'll see what happens. Otherwise, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll be back to a game stream. And like I mentioned last week, we might have some new cast and characters and new story and all kinds of interesting things to kick things off.
Oh yeah, super excited for that. Primarily because I will actually, here's a little sneak peek. I'm gonna be the DM. I'm gonna be DMing, so these two will be my players, and well, we'll see if they survive.
Hey, you can pick on Greg for revenge, what he's done to us, but
We'll see if
I don't think I've
fire
earned
him or
any.
not.
I don't think I've earned any fire this way. You know.
Oh, okay. Is that what you're going with, Matt? Do I
Yes.
need to
Yes, it
do I
is.
need to point to our Pirate Board campaign, or one shot I should
That
say?
was one session, and your character ended up fine mostly.
Did he?
Yeah, he killed
Did he
me.
survive?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
okay. Well,
your
that's
character
fine.
lost his memory, but
There's only
honestly.
one
That's not
time
so
that he
bad.
hasn't killed me, and that's because he felt bad. So
Look,
he's like, I've killed you every other time. I guess I can't kill you this time. I'm just gonna beat you up really bad.
Okay, you know what? I didn't kill your character in the Bozo Bonanza stream for Cyberpunk. I should have, because you were asking for it. You really were.
I just
The way you're
I
playing
was
your
just
character.
playing my character, man. Come on.
I should have killed your character. The way he was
Wow.
acting,
Listen to this guy. It's like
he was prime kill material, man.
vindictive and all that stuff. Oof.
Then again, whenever you're a player, your basic mode is being a public nuisance.
He is. Greg's
Oh.
he's a problem. He's a problem.
Wow. Holy cow. Okay. All right.
But I like him. I like him. He keeps things interesting. I will say that.
I always
But yes,
I always end up with the public nuisance characters, though. I mean, come on.
Eventually, we're gonna have a party who like isn't gonna want to put up with the bullshit, and it's like, it's like, no, they're not with us. Take them away, guards.
That would be fun.
We've never seen this person in our lives.
I would love that. That'd be great. That would be fantastic. I'm gonna change it up a little bit though, because yeah, I'm like locking myself into this grumpy or whatever thing. So I'm gonna have to play something different.
There's a level of grumpiness to your characters, different kinds.
I respect.
There's
it,
the
though.
underlying grumpiness to them.
Not all of them. That's the thing. But so far, all the ones that I've played on the stream, you are. I mean, Jason was kind of designed that way. I mean, he's a Witcher.
True.
He's
He was
he's a
little
dick.
upset.
I mean, am I supposed to play a nice Witcher? I mean, I
That
could've.
would be the unique, fresh taste.
Yeah,
Take
yeah.
on a
I
Witcher.
could've.
Be like,
so next time if we
I
use
love
those characters
people.
again and we play and I play Jason, I'm gonna play him differently.
he had a change of heart.
Yeah.
He realizes people are great, and he's going to
Turned
save
over
them
a
all with
new
his
leaf.
abilities as a Witcher. That fits the setting, right? Yeah.
Well, he already saves everybody with his abilities as a Witcher.
Yeah, but he's mean about it.
I think he's kind of nice, but that's just me. Yeah, and my character in what character was it in Bozo's Bonanza? I don't even remember now.
you played Spark.
Spark. That's right. I played the tech.
Yeah, and you were just like your character just talked. He just talked. He's saying rude things to everybody.
Got to keep the spice, man. It's got to be spicy. I mean, come on.
Should have had the murder clown go after you a bit more.
I had I'm not going to name any names, but some guy named Unholy Pun said that he doesn't believe that I can play any other type of character. So we'll see. I know,
Challenge.
right? It's insulting. Even.
That is challenging.
Horrible thing. No, Unholy actually has played with me, but as a DM. I was the DM for the Gary Con games. So, I mean, I'm a little bit more diverse than that. I mean, I can play slightly less aggravating characters.
Only slightly, though. We don't want to give an inaccurate impression. Gotta be honest.
just slightly less.
Is it like, what level of grumpiness is it? Is it like, I forgot I didn't have my
Baby
coffee
steps,
this morning,
exactly.
or is the world completely shit and I'm always angry enough? Where on the scale is it?
I think a lot of it is no, you're kind of right actually. But I do have other characters that are the other side of that. Like I do want to play Raz at some point because Raz is kind of the other side of that line. He's not necessarily a. It's kind of hard to be aggravated with Raz.
He was more twitchy than grumpy. I think there's a little bit of grumpiness, but it's more twitchy than anything. Like,
Yeah, he was
He
high
was-
strung. My man,
you know, he's like a rabbit, always on the like lookout for like like the wolf or something. You know, it's very prey instincts here. Like, what? Just don't sneak up on me. You know, that type of thing. He was a
Yes.
little twitchy and neurotic, I think, which was fun.
He's fun. He's fun to play. Absolutely. All right, so
If we ever do like a D&D campaign, we should bring him in.
Yeah.
well, yeah, we will have to do that at some point because I do want to actually play the namesake character at some point here. That was originally the plan, because originally the plan was that we were going to do that because of the project that we were working on at the time. That was like right before right around the whole OGL thing. But the plan at the time was to introduce these characters, and I was going to play. I was going to play Raz, and we were going to be in a D&D setting. Ideally a module style that we had created, and I think we were going to do Wild Beyond the Witchlight to start off things off, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Which this was funny because Raz, he was a Haragon, like a bunny guy or rabbit guy. You know, he's been particular.
I'm not a rabbit.
Exactly. And the character I was gonna play was a turtle. So we had a tortoise and hare joke baked into our character selection.
Tortoise and a hare. Yeah. So yeah, eventually we'll have to do that. But just to wrap us back up here, so 2 weeks from tomorrow we'll be back into the RP piece. I know I announced last week that we are going to wind down the existing Cyberpunk stream that we're doing, the BOR. We're going to do some story change there. But we are also going to start a new series piece, which is what Rob was talking about. So he'll be running that, ideally. And then we also have some one-shots that we need to do with some other games that are out there, mainly Free League Press games, but they're like some of the new stuff that's come out, the Blade Runner piece, the Walking Dead. Yes. And then I'm personally also planning on throwing in some other things, because there's a couple Modiphius games that I really want to do something with, like Dune, which I really want to do something with Dune. So we'll have
Speaking of Dune, there is actually a Dune MMO coming out. It's in the works, and apparently people are saying it's looking good. It's made by Funcom, which we might talk about next week. Because for those of you who know Funcom, it can be good, it can be bad. We don't know yet.
hopefully
I
it
don't know who those
does.
guys are, so I guess I'll find out.
Hopefully it does justice to the story. And I know I've been looking at the Dune RPG, which is Modiphius Games. There's a red. Maybe it's Green Ronin. I may have completely botched that. But I'll have to look again at this point. But yeah, I've been looking over that system, and it's one that I definitely want to jump into that. It's got some unique characteristics to it, and I am, it's another one of those cult fiction things with Dune that I am a big fan of. So excited.
Yeah, so if you play Dune, bring your Dune popcorn buckets, and it's just going to be a good time.
I don't have a Dune popcorn bucket.
I'm sure you can find one online.
I might-
I'm 100% sure someone is selling that thing.
I might have to do that now, Matt. Why you put these thoughts in my head?
Oh, please
All right.
do.
What else you got, Rob?
That's it. That is it. That's all I got.
Awesome. So next Wednesday, the 3rd, are we? So we'll be doing episode.
59.
Is it 50? Yeah, it's 59,
Yep,
and then the week
59.
after that's 60. Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. All right. So we'll see everybody next week.
All right, guys. That is it for episode 58 of the Update Log. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you haven't, please do join our Discord. That's where you can keep up to date with us and things that we're working on. Go ahead and, obviously follow the channel and our YouTube channel as well. But other than that, man, that's all we got. Wishing you guys a good rest of your week and happy weekend.
Happy
Cheers.
weekend, everybody. Have a good
See
night.
you guys next time.